Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Press YYZ. We're the only Canadian gaming podcast you can catch live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST, as well as on podcast services and YouTube every Thursday. My name is Alexander Kazina, and I'm joined today by the one and only Mr. Mitch George.
Yo.
And, of course, the hero of time himself, AJ Fraser.
That's me!
And it is our 100th episode, starring only 3/5 of the cast. Unfortunately, both Alex and Nathan were occupied by various things. Don't you worry, we'll get them back on the podcast soon enough to do a topic of the show that we were planning on doing today, but that we decided to put the kibosh on for the time being. Before we get started, a reminder, as always, that we here at Press YYZ stand against discrimination of any kind. While we appreciate however you choose to give back to the show, there is no better way to support us than by being excellent to each other. Housekeeping. We have talked for eons, ages, millennia, thousands of hundreds of thousands of years about our second hour live stream, which we originally promised after conducting our first 12-hour live stream. We said that we would do it if we hit a certain stretch reward. We hit that stretch reward. We said, all right, we're doing it in December of 2021. And then that became January of 2022. And then that became February of 2022. And after much deliberation, we have come to the decision to cancel the second 12-hour live stream in the form that it was originally going to be. I think we all kind of mutually agreed before we went live that it would be good if we could do at least something to make up for it. Exactly what that is going to be, we have not yet fully decided on, but rest assured that we will still do something, and it will be cool, and it will be live, but another kind of full day 12-hour live stream is not currently on the cards.
Also, shout out to Darth Stridius out there somewhere, who has been keeping us honest with that and trying to reminding us that, oh yeah, we have that thing we have to do. So apologies to him specifically for that, what we're not doing, I guess.
We all, I think, had, every intention of figuring out how to do this. Obviously, if you've listened to prior episodes of the show, you'll know that we had a lot of fun ideas planned for this 12-hour live stream, such as, Alex Ballant playing through Kingdom Hearts, us playing a little bit of Phasmophobia, a little bit more Halo action. I suspect that all that stuff will still happen at some point independently of the wrapper of this second 12-hour live stream, just not in that fashion. So
yeah,
sorry to start out episode 100 of Press YYZ with a little bit of a downer, but we figured that this is one of those moments where it would be better to, shit or get off the pot and not just sort of continue kicking this can down the road.
Yeah, I'm sure that was very annoying for some people, but yeah. Anyway.
Moving on to slightly lighter news. Last week, we said that we were going to be doing a very kind of quick one-off YYZ review of Windjammers II, which we will be talking about a little bit later in this podcast. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, our next YYZ review game will be Crossfire X, specifically the single-player campaign for Crossfire X, which is being developed by Remedy, the Finnish developer best known for Alan Wake, Control, and Quantum Break. It's being made available as of this recording tomorrow, Thursday, February the 10th. So check it out on Xbox Game Pass or wherever you get your video games, and go ahead and play it along with us so that we can talk about it in 2 weeks' time. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about what we've been up to. AJ.
Hi.
You said before we went live that you had not been playing a whole lot of them video games.
Yes, I've been a little preoccupied.
You have been preoccupied. Because while you've not been playing any video games, you certainly have been playing the game of life, IRL.
I have. Yep. My girlfriend and I decided to move in together. And so I spent the last the last weekend moving. We're still unboxing a lot of stuff. It's still a bit of a mess and a disaster and everything, but
Speaking from experience, you'll be doing that for at least 2.5 years.
Oh, good, great, wonderful. But yeah, I'm actually basically in the city proper at this point. So, well, proper-ish. It's out there, but it's
Etobicoke
still
counts.
Yeah.
Or as the Americans would call it, Etobicoke.
Yeah, Etobicoke. But yeah, that's where I am. So,
I'm not trying to dox you or anything, but
no, it's fine. Yeah, it's definitely weird having all my stuff in a different location in a different space, but
is this your first time moving out, or
yeah? So growing up, I'd always go back and forth to my dad's or what have you, and as a kid, I moved a little bit from like California to I lived in Georgetown for a while, and then I lived up in Bolton area. Yeah, the economics has not necessarily been well off for our generation. A lot of people lucked out. Some people didn't necessarily, and so it's been a little harder to make that jump. But we finally felt confident and comfortable enough to kind of do so. 2 years into a pandemic, so
So then so you're still commuting up to your old job then, right?
Yeah.
That's gotta suck.
It's fine, actually. Believe it or not. So
like, how long a lot of commute are we talking about?
30 minutes.
Okay,
that's not too bad.
Exactly, right? I am going opposite of what the majority of rush hour traffic is going, and it's been 30 minutes both ways. So that's quite all right. Plus, I was also smart, so I made sure that I made sure to take a couple pictures just if I wanted to feel like I'm at home again, and just put myself in my old background here for video watchers only. But it's bittersweet being out of that space, because that space was home to me for so long. Since 2003 I lived there, essentially. And
it takes some getting used to.
It does having to make your own dinners. No more mom's cooking. Ugh.
I mean, but now you get to do what you want and not have to worry about what other people want to cook.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now I have to worry about what I want.
I am curious, AJ. Over the course of the past couple of months, I've tried to think strategically about the way that the background behind me looks. Originally, that stack of Wii games wasn't there at all, and I figured, might as well put there, because if I'm recording a video game podcast, good to have some video game paraphernalia behind me. The backgrounds that you've had on stream, have always been a delight, because it'll be you playing No Man's Sky, or maybe, like most recently, a Pokemon Legends Arceus background. Have you thought about kitting out the background in the room behind you to have more of a gamerish feel, or?
So I'm in a condo, a 1-bedroom condo with a den, right? That back there is Rachel's desk. This is kind of a shared office space. I've got these shelves here, which I still need to set up, but I made sure to take this out of the basement.
Oh, there he is. Halo Chief himself.
Master Chief is here with me always.
Name,
yeah, Mr. Chef. Yeah, the good old Halo 3 cat helmet thing that came with the Legendary Edition. That's going to be prominently on display at some point in here. The thing that, because this is such a small space in here, the actual thing I'm trying to plan out currently, because I've got the internet modem right here beside me, but I want consoles to be back there, and maybe like up top or something like that. and I want them to be displayed but functional. So, like, imagine my Series X, like, on the top of that shelf there, or something, right?
There's gonna be
I don't
some
know.
long HDMI cables. I can tell you
Oh
that
yeah,
much.
I'm into it though. Functionally displayed is my aesthetic.
The other thing that you could potentially do is functionally display them, but then
Mhm.
also get like an AV receiver or something that you can tuck into the bookshelf and then run just one cable from the receiver to your computer.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. I've got
I have those occasionally.
Yeah, I've got an HDMI splitter that's here on my desk. I don't have any of my consoles hooked up yet, but it comes with a little remote here, so I could potentially, with the remote, like swap inputs and stuff as needed. If I just point it behind me, that way it's only one cable on the ground and keep that up there. But we'll see how it goes, because I also want it, in order to play it. Like, I don't have a TV in this room. I need it to go into my my Elgato and everything. So yeah, that's been my update.
Cool. I mean, I think I speak for everyone here when I say that we're all interested in seeing, how this new house nets out and how the room behind you nets out. Because, as I said
Yeah.
earlier, the backgrounds behind you are always they're the never-ending gobstopper of this podcast. You keep chewing at them, and you never know what you're going to get next.
Yeah, absolutely.
That maybe, you know what? Now that I think about
That
it,
may
maybe
be a
that
broken
wasn't.
tooth.
Yeah, and also like a gobstopper is actually like it's kind of bland flavor wise, and I would not call your backgrounds bland. Maybe not a great comparison. Anyways, moving along, Mitch.
Sure.
Recently, you played a little game that we played on the podcast. On the podcast, you played a little game that we played on.
You're really leaning
YYZ.
into that northern U.S. Canadian accent there, eh? On that there podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna drive all them trucks through them capital, eh?
Oh boy.
You have been
No,
playing
we are not.
a little game by the name of Nobody Saves the World as of recent.
I'm in love with this game. It is so fucking good. Like, it
I
is
wish I
ridiculous how
connected
much
with
fun I'm
it.
having this. Oh, like something clicked, and it's just, I don't know if it's the aesthetic or the checklisty nature of it, but it's real good. I'm really enjoying it.
Which character would you say so far is your favorite?
So I want to say I'm like, here, I have the game open. Let me just pull it up my other monitor. I'm probably, I don't know, is there a way to check your playtime? I don't think there is. Get back
on Xbox.
Yes,
they definitely.
I mean, if you,
I was going to say they definitely tell your playthrough when you beat the game. I don't know if you can do so in the middle of it though.
If you link up your Xbox account to like the GOG Galaxy launcher or something, it gives you stats and playtime stuff.
that sounds like too many steps.
Probably.
No, I mean I'm probably maybe 5-6 hours in. Something like that. Let me just pull up the characters I've unlocked.
Right now on the stream we're watching, you're playing as the horse, which is a character that I liked, but he's definitely one of the more technical characters of the game because you always have to be facing backwards if you want his main attack to connect. And his main attack
was probably
is
more
strong.
so. Yeah, that was probably more so for me for completing quests to unlock other characters. I think for me, I've really enjoyed the magician as well as the zombie.
Yeah, the basic attack that the magician can pull off in that game is, I would say, pretty solid. Even if you're not necessarily like getting like consistently high cards, which theoretically, if I remember correctly, are supposed to do more damage. And the zombie, the thing about the zombie is I think a lot of people on instinct are turned off from the zombie because the zombie being undead is constantly losing health. But when you pair that with, all your zombie minions and all the like special abilities that allow you to regain health, like it ends up being like almost nil how much you're actually losing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what I felt as I was playing.
Yeah.
I've hit a bit of a wall in that I'm having to grind a little more to do like the next story thing I need to do, but I hope that doesn't keep up, but honestly, like so far, having a blast.
Yeah, when I played this game, like I was the kind of guy that would kind of try and complete as many side dungeons and side missions as possible before even bothering with a lot of the main castles. So I didn't really reach any major roadblocks where it was like, all right, I got to grind a whole lot if I want to advance the story because I already had gotten that out of the way. I'd say definitely if you are feeling a little bit roadblocky, definitely keep at it because while not my favorite drink box game, I did enjoy this game a lot, and I think that you'll find the final few dungeons pretty satisfying.
Yeah, honestly, depending on how that goes, it might be my favorite drink box game. I really like the Guacamelee games, but this is scratching an itch I didn't know need scratched.
Hmm.
It'll be
You might
interesting.
want to.
Go ahead.
You might want to play like A Link to the Past or something.
Tried. I think the
Yeah.
variety to the gameplay here is what's keeping me coming back.
Sure.
That each character feels different, and the mixing and matching of their abilities across characters has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always fun when you have a game like this where each character manages to feel like as distinct as they should. Let's move on and talk a little bit about what I've been up to. Of course, I've continued to play Pokemon Legends Arceus on a continuous basis, as have all of us to varying degrees. We talked about our shared experiences with the game a little bit in the Discord server, and I don't know if there's anything else that we wanted to kind of follow up on. I do want to say, like, I have genuinely been having a lot of fun with this game. My kind of nightly ritual is I uh, grab my iPhone, grab my Switch, and I watch episodes of the Pokemon anime, like from the most recent series, while I play through the game and like grind out side missions and whatnot. And although I'm not making very large strides with the game, I have been having a lot of fun doing so.
I yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to put into it in the last week, but the time I did put into it, I really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it as soon as I can. I've got 3 of the things completed. 3 of the, what are they called?
You
The
mean
god
The nobles.
nobles.
Right.
Yeah.
The super silent
Um,
Pokemon?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've got a party full of the alpha Lionels.
Ooh.
So
I caught an alpha Ralts the other day,
yeah.
and it's basically going to be one of the permanent Pokemon I'm keeping in my party, and I'm faced with a tough decision because it's a male Ralts, which means that I can either go the route of evolving it into a Gardevoir, and I can make a Lady Demetrius Q, or however the hell you pronounce that name, or I
Art of
can
War.
yeah no well
Yeah.
I can make a Gardevoir in reference to Lady whatever her name was from Resident Evil 8.
Dimitrescu.
Right. Or because it's a male routes, I could eventually evolve it into a Gallade if I want to be a little bit different, a little bit spicy, but I'm not yet decided. I don't know. If you guys in the chat have any hard and tough opinions, I feel like I could be persuaded either way. I don't think I've ever had a Gallade like in my main Pokemon team, like in any of the main Pokemon games. It's never a Pokemon I naturally gravitated towards before, so maybe that has a little bit more of a pull. I don't know, Mitch, if you have any hard and fast Gallade thoughts.
I'm the opposite. Gallade ends up in my party more often than not, mostly because it learns both Hypnosis and False Swipe. So I use it primarily as a mon to catch other Pokemon.
That's a good point. I never even thought about the false swipe thing.
At least in the main games, it's less of a thing in this game. I feel, but it's kind of just carried through with me from other games. Like I've got a level 100 shiny Gallade that I kind of use as my catcher of choice just for those reasons. So I use it more often than not. So I usually, if I get the option, will go with a Gardevoir just because I use it less frequently. But you know what? If you don't use Gallade very often, to each their own.
Okay. Another game that I've been playing is a little game by the name of Knack II. And I got to say, I'm a little bit,
What?
Nathan unfortunately couldn't join us today. And for the most part, I feel like, the show will go on no matter what. But I do feel a little bit sad that I couldn't have him here to talk a little bit about this game, because I believe that he has played this game before, and man, oh man, is Knack II another Knack game?
Another Knack tier Knack game.
Well, I'll get to that at the very end. So, Knack 1, it's this PlayStation 4 launch game, comes out in 2013. Famously, a lot of games that come out for the launch of the PlayStation 4 are also available on PlayStation 3. Like you have Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, which is also available on PS3. You have, a soccer game, a football game, the whole bit. This game, only available on PlayStation 4. It was that computatively powerful. I played it last year, like literally to the year last year, and I thought it was very whatever. I was not particularly impressed with its combat. I thought it was way too punitive and hard. I thought that its story was just way too serious and kind of belied its very kind of like cartoony Pixar look. I just thought it was a very kind of blah experience all around. Knack 2 is a better game from a gameplay perspective, 100%. Every other aspect of it is almost indistinguishable from the first Knack. Its story is equally blah and equally serious. Its world is just completely whatever. Its characters are blah. Its gameplay definitely, like, you can definitely tell how the designers of this game really kind of looked at people's critical opinions of the first Knack and went, all right, here's how we got to make a better game that people will connect more with. One thing that people really hated about the original Knack, that I hated about the original Knack, is that you never really have any choice about when you're playing as big Knack or small Knack. Some levels will force you to play as small Knack and get just punched into oblivion by even the lightest breeze that comes your way. Other levels you play as big Knack, and it's pretty satisfying to, jump around the city as like a supersized being made of crystals, but that does carry with it the frustration of I feel like I had no real kind of choice in this. This game, you generally play as medium-sized Knack at all times, and you can choose when you want to play as small Knack, but small Knack only is used basically for like platforming and puzzle solving segments. Beyond that, like the level design is just a lot stronger. The combat is a lot more fleshed out. You regenerate hits over time instead of having to like recover health via sunstones or what have you in the original Knack. Overall, though, yeah, I don't really have a lot more to say about Knack 2 other than that it is indeed another Knack game.
Great.
I know everybody was just dying to hear my opinion on the wondrous experience that was Knack 2. And well, guess what? You got it right here and right now. I do want to say, AJ, you mentioned earlier, about this game being a Knack game. I went back to the episode in which we ranked the best PS4 and Xbox One exclusives. This was episode 41 of Press YYZ. And on that episode, infamously, we put both Knack 1 and Knack 2 at the Knack tier at the very bottom of the tier list, so below D. If I had to actually legitimately rank both Knack games on the list, Knack 1 probably would still stay at Knack tier. Knack 2 would either be at the top of D tier or the bottom of C tier. When you get into C tier, you have games like the Battletoads remake, Grounded, The Last Guardian. Knack 2 is not better than any of those games, but D tier is the original Titanfall, The Order 1886, and Killzone Shadowfall. And all three of those games are like, you're trying things, but it's not the greatest. And I feel like I could definitely make an argument for Knack 2 being better than them, but not much else.
Got it.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, let's jump into talking about a major, earth-shattering, life-changing event that happened today. Of course, I'm talking about the Nintendo Direct that aired today, February 9th of 2022. Nintendo went on for 40 minutes with new news about all sorts of cool games and updates coming to the Nintendo Switch in the year of our Lord 2022. Right off the top, I want to say this was a really fun Nintendo Direct. Obviously, not everything was for me on it, but of course, that's true of everyone. But the things that were for me, I would say really hit. I thought that Nintendo's announcement of new DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so much new DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe,
long overdue. So
amazing.
Long overdue. Why didn't they do this earlier?
I don't
because they are crazy and decided instead of just making a new game, they would just take content from other games and put it into this game. The fact that we are getting DLC in 2022 and 2023 for a game that came out in 2014 makes zero sense. But I totally predicted it and was very happy that it happened.
Well, it was a little bit surprising because, in the lead up to this Nintendo Direct, there was some speculation that, Nintendo might tease Mario Kart 9 for the first time or reports have come out suggesting that Mario Kart 9 is in development and Nintendo has a new concept in store for it and so on and so forth. Doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. Given that these
I'll milk this cash cow for all it's worth.
These DLC packs, as I understand it, are releasing throughout 2022 and 2023.
That is what they said.
I got to be honest. I can't claim that I'm particularly disappointed.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. It took them way too long, but I'll take it. It's more Mario Kart, and I mean, I don't think there's going to be a Mario Kart 9 anytime soon, thanks to this. So, whenever the Switch 2 comes out and it's like a little more powerful and can handle a lot more, like this thing will still be like the number one Mario Kart for it.
It will sell Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Plus on the Switch 2. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah. As its own thing. Yeah. And it comes with all of these maps that everybody already paid for. A very Nintendo-like solution. Yeah.
I kind of jerked the wheel there a little bit at the beginning. Mitch, I want to flip it over to you. How did you feel about this Nintendo Direct?
Similarly to you, not a lot of what they talked about was not for me. A couple of things they showed were, and they made me happy. Like I said, I correctly predicted in the pre-show of what I streamed of this that they were going to release Mario Kart 8 DLC in 2022, and was totally right. I don't really care much for Fire Emblem or other, RPGs from 30 years ago that they're re-releasing. Yeah. Mario Strikers coming back was a neat announcement. I didn't expect to see that anytime soon, and that's a fun one.
Mario Strikers was the one that kind of made me the most excited out of the whole thing, because anytime you guys would talk about like Persona Strikers or whatever, my brain always auto-completed to Super Mario Strikers. Back in the day, I had a bunch of fun with that. I'm considering buying it again on eBay. I wonder what it's going for.
I wouldn't worry about it because you've got this game coming in 2 months.
How am I going to know the story of the first one before the second one comes out?
There's no story to this game. It's just technically this is the third one, isn't it?
Yeah, because there was
there was a Wii one. Right?
There was Mario Strikers on the GameCube.
Right.
There was Mario Strikers Charged on the Wii, which is generally like the one that I think people remember fondly, because that's kind of where they first adopted like the kind of edgy-ish art style. And yes, this is the third one.
I'm more fond of the GameCube one than the Wii one.
Do we know if it's Next Level Games working on this? Did they mention in the trailer what developer was working on this? Because they worked on the first two. And they haven't done anything since Luigi's Mansion 3, so that would make a lot of sense. I'd just be curious to know if that was the case.
Definitely something worth looking up. Who knows? Maybe I'm looking it up right now while nobody.
Oh, I definitely looked it up and it didn't say. So.
Oh wow.
Oh well. We'll probably learn soon though.
I would imagine.
I mean,
there are.
Go ahead.
Some of the original Mario Strikers. There's one going for $51.99, another going for $110. So yeah, it's a little. The charge for the Wii, $20, but it's the like Nintendo Selects version, the one with the cover nobody wants.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we talked about Mario Kart and we glossed over the more important kart racer announcement from this stream.
Oh yeah, that was.
And that is Disney Speedstorm coming as a free-to-play cross-platform title.
So,
okay.
Fun fact: while we've been talking about this Nintendo Direct, I'm consulting GameSpot's like video of the Nintendo Direct because they have time codes for like all the major game announcements that were in the Direct. The Disney racing game is not in their time codes because they did not think it important.
It goddamn should be. This game legitimately looks good, and that's saying a lot for a game coming from Gameloft.
Like graphically too.
Yeah.
Like,
I wonder if what we were seeing was Switch gameplay though, because if it is coming cross-platform, maybe that wasn't the Switch version that we saw.
Yeah. I don't know. Looking at it.
Either way, I'm excited to see more of it as that comes to fruition, what it's going to look like, what the initial roster is going to look like, if the free-to-play mechanics are, super egregious. But, you know, I'm curious to see more of that because at least it's a new kart racer and not just Mario Kart 8 for the 9th year.
Is Sora going to be playable in this?
No, and it's going to make a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans upset.
They should.
But, I mean, Kingdom Hearts is going to be playable on the Switch as of tomorrow via the cloud, and that'll be terrible.
Disney Speedstorm. Wasn't there like an era where Disney worked on like, was Blur a Disney game? Am I mistaken on that? It was,
No,
but that wasn't like...
That was.
It was, but it was not like very Disney-fied. Like it didn't have like a bunch of like Disney characters. It was just a Disney developed racing game, right?
It was a title. No, it wasn't Disney. It was Activision Blizzard.
Was it? Well, while we're looking that up, AJ, I know we're kind of like quite into the thick of things, and I know that I got your thoughts on the Nintendo Direct, before we did this podcast. I am curious, like overall, reflecting back on it, talking about the highs and lows, Mario Kart 8 getting DLC 8 years later, but also Mario Kart 8 getting DLC 8 years later. How are you feeling?
Overall, I'm feeling positive on it. It seems like I'm not necessarily interested in Fire Emblem. I never got a chance to play Advanced Wars on the GBA, so maybe this is my chance. There were a couple other things in there that, like the Disney Kart Racer and stuff. Just overall, I think it was a decent one. Like it's one of those. Yes, there's stuff in it that's not for me, but I wasn't offended by it. Sometimes in the past, like at a Nintendo Direct event, there's been things that have not been for me that I just sort of feel like, are they even listening to anybody? And this one, that it felt like they've heard somebody at least. So
sure.
So the game you were thinking of earlier, Cozy, was the BlackRock Studios developed Split Second, released by Disney Interactive Studios.
I feel like
the last title released by BlackRock Studio.
I feel like Blur and Split Second both released on like the same day. Am I mistaken in thinking that?
I had it up, and then
it was the same year.
They both released in 2010.
Because I remember both of those games coming out within like a arm's throw of each other and being like, man, this is a little bit confusing.
They came out a week apart. May 18th for Split Second and May 25th for Blur.
There we go.
We're watching the trailer on privately here on our Discord call, and it's currently showing No Man's Sky. I'm surprised it's taken this long for it to come to Switch. Like,
it wasn't on.
Are you surprised? Because it didn't look very good. I feel like it's gonna take a definite step back.
I mean,
the Switch.
This does not look like Switch gameplay, if I'm perfectly honest.
I mean, some of it did. It looked like it might have been like 720p or if not lower.
Well, maybe they did like PC gameplay and like
it might have interstitched it
at a lower resolution or something. But I'd be down for No Man's Sky on the go. still doesn't. The experience still won't beat No Man's Sky in VR. Like nothing can really compare to that. But I hope for that. I hope there's kind of what is it? Like a motion control, like you know how you can aim in Splatoon a little bit with the gyros and the control. Yeah, like imagine like you're flying your ship and like you actually have to turn all the way around to steer it. Like that would be interesting. I don't know.
I want to take a quick second to talk a little bit about a certain game by the name of Chrono Cross. This is, of course, the I'm searching for the right word here. The forlorn sequel to Chrono Trigger, because I know it's one of those games where you got some people who are like, "Oh, this is a sequel to Chrono Trigger. It was pretty good," and you have other people that are like, kind of a not exactly the sequel to Chrono Trigger that I originally wanted."
It was like a pseudo sequel. It wasn't quite a sequel. It took place in the same universe, but
yeah. Regardless, I gotta say, watching this footage, hearing about how they have this like visual novel that was previously only available in Japan included in this release, I'm definitely intrigued, and I feel like the pace that I've been going on, completing games in 2022, this is actually something that I feel like I could get down with. Even I don't know how about either of you feel.
No, not for me. For me, there's something about those old JRPGs that really don't do it for me. Like everybody hyped up the original Final Fantasy VII, and I could never get into it. Even like the later entries into the series. I've attempted things like oh man, I'm blanking on names now. What's the one with the anime guy with the blue hair? That doesn't narrow it down at all.
Dragon Quest?
Nope.
Blue Dragon?
Nope. That was an Xbox
Legacy of
360
Goku
game.
3?
Nailed it. Yep, that's the one. No.
Yeah.
No, Mana.
Spirit of Mana?
Really?
Yeah, something like that.
Children of Mana?
One of those. I think it was one of the Mana ones.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was one of the Mana ones. Yeah, I've tried some, and it's just like, I don't know, like, I take my, like, if I try to wind down at the end of the day and I play a nice video game, it doesn't exactly mean I want to go to sleep right away, and that tends to be what it, like, not necessarily in a bad way. It's a lot of the times, relaxing experience, but one that I can't invest a lot of time into because I don't know. I have a hard time with that. I'll stick with Pokemon.
Yeah, as is typical of, I would say, a lot of other Nintendo Directs, there was quite a bit of JRPG representation here. We got a modern day, like HD-ified port of Live Alive, which is like one of those classic, it was never ported to the West until now games. We got, of course, the announcement of that Musou style Fire Emblem Three Houses game, and we also got the announcement of Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Did anyone else feel like when Fire Emblem came up they're doing DLC for Fire Emblem Warriors? Because that's what I thought it was at first. I did not expect them to do a new game in the Warriors series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of felt similar. I was like, wait a minute, didn't they do a Fire Emblem thing? I thought that, and then
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of surprised that it's its own game. If I was a Fire Emblem fan, I mean, I'd be pretty happy that we're getting, like, ostensibly like the Persona 5 strikers of Fire Emblem Three Houses, presumably. I'm guessing that's what it is.
Pretty much.
I'm guessing, though, that like ultimately none of those games were super appealing to either of you, though.
No. The only other things that kind of jumped out at me, the amount of disrespect I'm seeing online for Klonoa. Like, those games are legitimately good 2D-ish, 2.5D platformers, and more people need to play those. And those are coming as a collection, so that's fun.
When the Klonoa game that came to Wii release, I remember a lot of people at the time talking about how like surprisingly good it was. I might even have like a copy of the game that I picked up at some point. don't know if this will be something that I'm going to go ahead and check out, but I want to let you know, Mitch, that I have no disrespect towards Klonoa at all. I know it to be a good game, and I hope that you and the people that like that game will get a good HD remaster collection out of this.
Yeah, and then also quickly before I got to bounce out, which is shortly. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Yeah, pretty much. Fucking Portal.
Oh yeah.
If that game has gyro controls, that might be the best way to play Portal.
I don't know about that.
I'm not kidding. Portable Portal 2 like that. I feel like this is happening because the Steam Deck is happening and Valve was just kind of yeah, it's going to work on a handheld. Let's make a lot of money on the Switch and double dip and get more people to buy it on Steam. And I will 100% buy this on the Switch because I love these games. Portal 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. So it's going to happen. And I'm excited for that.
These games are awesome. I asked this on Twitter when this announcement first happened. Is this the first time that these games have been re-released since both of their debuts?
Yes. Yeah, so Portal 2 especially, but like not since the orange box Portal 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Portal and Portal 2 have both been on console. This is the first time they've kind of been released on a new console since that initial release or the initial release of the
orange box. It didn't come out last
point.
generation. It was PS3 360.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really quick before you go, Mitch.
Yeah, there's a couple more things I want to touch on before I had to go. But yeah, what's up?
Wii Sports, the remake.
Not the remake. The pseudo sequel, Nintendo Switch Sports, is happening, and that's neat.
I'm excited to go bowling again.
Nintendo finally embracing the battle royale genre, but for bowling.
What took them so long? This should have been a launch title.
This should have been the game that 1-2 Switch was. Like, we didn't need 1-2 Switch. We needed this.
This could have been like the big thing all over again, and like the ultimate redemption from the Wii U generation. Like, oh hey, we hear you. Here is what you want, and this would have been it.
And they're doing it now, so better late than never. Cozy?
I had a ton of fun with the original Wii Sports. That was a fantastic pack-in launch game. I remember going back and forth between that game and Twilight Princess so much at the time of its release. Never played Wii Sports Resort. And
really underrated game. Wii Sports Resort,
that's what
very
I've heard.
Good.
That's what I've heard. It's a little bit too bad that it seems like they're only pulling a couple of games from Wii Sports Resort in this collection.
Yeah, but they're pulling the best games from Wii Sports Resort, so it's okay.
Okay. All right. I trust your opinion on that.
That leg thing looks weird, though.
I mean, I already own one of those. I used it today. It's the thing that came with Ring Fit Adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're just kind of packaging this thing in to do soccer, I guess. Whatever. Sure. Final thing, Kirby. Kirby is a thing. Kirby can now eat vehicles and vending machines. And I don't know what the internet is going to do with this, but Kirby is the best, and anyone who wants to make fun of Kirby can eat it.
Again, were you seeing people making fun of Kirby? I thought we were all
but if they do, I'm a come for them.
Gross.
All right.
Not like that.
The threat.
No, honestly, like everything we're seeing of Kirby and the Forgotten Lands makes me want to play it even more than I already did. The fact we're getting like the first real attempt at a 3D platformer in the Kirby universe. I know there was Crystal whatever on the 64, but it wasn't quite 3D.
Yeah. Watching the gameplay of this, like, this is very, very much like Mario Odyssey, but with Kirby.
And the fact that they're putting like real world objects in there and you're actually interacting with those. When that vending machine came on screen and they said you can attack your enemies by spitting cans at them, I almost fell out of my chair laughing. Like, it's so dumb. But
I cannot
wait.
It's so dumb it's good. It's so dumb it's good.
I cannot wait to play it. That's March 25th. That's about all I got, and I got to bounce. So I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Have a good one, Mitch.
See you later. Here's to 700 more episodes.
Yep.
Hold on. Let me just take a quick second. There we go. Oh, I feel like it's been a while since we've had to like switch the format of the hosts on the fly. I feel like back during the early days of Press YYZ, we had to do that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely felt that way for sure.
Whew. Are there any other highlights from the direct that you wanted to call out, AJ?
No, honestly, I think other than like, I mean, Earthbound is coming to whatever the Switch Online thing.
Yeah.
That's cool, but I've never been a big Earthbound fan.
Hmm.
I've been a fan of the hype of Earthbound, but never of Earthbound itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
So
like one of those things that like so many people seem to love and have fond memories of, but Nintendo just refuses to do anything with it.
yeah. So when Earthbound, aka Mother 2, was re-released on the Wii U back in the day, and it was like the
Yeah.
first time in forever that Nintendo had actually gone through with re-releasing the game. I bought it and played it, and
Yeah.
it was just one of those things where it's like I could definitely understand the appeal. I thought it was even at the time like a pretty funny, like well-written game, but I just kind of found myself like missing so many of the kind of modern kind of quality of life things that we've come to expect from, modern RPGs of its nature.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I will also say too though that like I played a little bit of Undertale, which obviously is a game that borrows very heavily from
Hmm.
the Earthbound formula, and I couldn't, not that I was like bored or anything with that game, but I wasn't able to really kind of stick with that one for very long. So maybe this is just not
Yeah.
a style of game that really appeals to me. But I do want to, I at
I
least want to give
yeah.
not Earthbound, Undertale like another honest college try
Yeah.
at some point.
I, I mentioned this in the Discord, but I I think Earthbound deserves like the Octopath engine remaster of some sort. Like make it look like that in that engine.
Mm.
Maybe then I would jump in. Like make it like a 1-to-1 remake, but like make it look like that. And I think maybe I could see myself go part of the way through it.
At some point, I remember somebody suggested that maybe they could like remake the games in the kind of clay animation art style that a lot of the original
Mm.
artwork from that game was done in. That sounds like a
Oh,
little bit. That sounds like a pretty challenging prospect, but I'd be for it.
what about the Link's Awakening remake?
Ooh, yeah. Although I didn't.
That aesthetic.
You mean a Link Between Worlds?
Nope. Link's Awakening. The one that came out on the
Oh,
Switch.
right. Sorry. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Speaking of which, I need to get back to that game at some point. I
Yeah.
completely forgot I started that. Yeah, I need to check that game out. Yeah, we've pretty much gone through pretty much every single like announcement of consequence from the direct. The only game that we didn't really talk about that's kind of big is Splatoon 3, which showed off some of its Salmon Run like cooperative mode gameplay.
Mhm.
Um, I played Splatoon 1 back in the day and I enjoyed it. I didn't play Splatoon 2. I don't know if this is of any interest to you.
I played the beta of Splatoon 2, and that told me that I didn't need to play the main game. So no, Splatoon never did it for me. The
Yeah.
only graffiti that I play is in Tony Hawk. So
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I hope that Splatoon fans out there, get what they want to get out of Splatoon 3. I don't think I'm going to be indulging in it either, but you never know. Maybe the game comes out and everyone's like, oh man, the single player mode in this game is fantastic. You got to check it out. And that brings me back. One last
yeah.
thing I do want to touch up on from the direct is a couple of free updates were announced for Metroid Dread. The game is getting a Dread mode where literally a single hit kills you, and also a rookie mode where things are a little bit more forgiving. And also, I believe in April they're planning on releasing a boss rush mode for the game as well. Um,
Hmm.
I had said before this direct that I was really looking forward to the potential of DLC releasing for Metroid Dread. This isn't exactly what I had in mind. I was thinking more something in the vein of new story content or just like a new area to explore. But it is at least cool that Nintendo is supporting this game after launch, because it's been like so long since like the last like mainline new Metroid game. I'm pretty certain that this is like the first Metroid game that has gotten DLC even. Period.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that's cool. But yeah, I'm hoping that we still at some point get like proper new content DLC for that game, because I would definitely enjoy that. All right. Moving away from the Nintendo Direct, we have one last big thing that we need to do on this here episode 100 Press YYZ, which is talk about a little game by the name of Windjammers II.
Yeah.
So, AJ,
yeah, go ahead.
The way that us playing Windjammers 2 came about is a couple weeks ago. I was talking about, what game we could play next as part of Press YZ Reviewy. And I was saying, maybe we could do Crossfire X, maybe we could do this game, maybe we could do that game. And you said, perhaps instead of playing a game that's just about to come out or is brand new, we could play something that's a little bit older, like Windjammers 2. And I heard that and I thought, oh, Windjammers 2, that sounds like a cool time. And from the way that you introduce it as it being this older game, I was under the assumption that this game had released in like 2019 or so. Because it feels like we've been hearing about it for so long. It released like I'm just going to quickly spoil it for the audience. This game released in January of last month.
Yeah.
Hold on, that does make sense. It released last month.
Yes.
Is what I meant to say.
So the original Windjammers is an old arcade game and an old Neo Geo game that I learned about by watching like some old Giant Bomb streams and stuff.
Do you what's like the super abridged version of how they discovered it? Was it a thing where like there was like one person on the Giant Bomb crew who was like really into Windjammers and he kind of introduced it to the crew? Was it like a random discovery?
So they all like kind of knew about it because like they're big video game fans and stuff over there. But they do a weekly show called Unprofessional Fridays, and somebody will bring in a game or what. Like they all bring in like a game that they play for like half an hour and show off or whatever, like a show and tell almost. And they just it can be the newest thing or it can be an old thing, whatever. And so. This was years ago, 2013. Somebody had a Neo Geo, brought it in, and said, let's play some Windjammers, right? Like they knew what it was from like way back in the day, but like they hadn't thought about it in so long. And then they got really, really big into it while they were playing, just on accident. And they got very competitive with each other about it, and were having a great time. And then they used their influence to sort of will a remake of the original Windjammers into existence on the. I think it came to PS Plus at one point.
Yeah. Which was then developed by the same studio that did this game, I believe.
Yeah, and then I think that was their practice round for what became Windjammers 2. Inevitably. Yeah, I think it's one of those, like, I'm not very good at fighting games or anything like that. And it's one of those, it's not a fighting game first and foremost. It's a 1v1 kind of like Pong sports like thing where you're throwing a disc back and forth across and trying to score the most points before the other person can score them on you. And it's compared to a fighting game because it is 1v1 a lot, right? And it's very hyper competitive, very fast paced. And you're like countering the other person's throws. You're trying to psych them out and like score a hit. Like if you the characters that you can choose from, some are heavier and can throw harder, and some are lighter, they move faster. But like if you have a very light character go up against a very heavy character, and the heavy character throws the disc, there's a chance like that the light character could be knocked back into the net, and the other guy scores a point. So, you know, you got to strategize.
So that's why that
way.
was happening.
That's why that was happening. Yeah, it's super fun in my opinion. When you have a good group of people who you like to play with, playing like against a computer or online, and especially when you're new and you don't quite know what you're doing, it can be a little frustrating. But if you enjoy fighting games, or if you enjoy, you know, competitive sport like games, or like, or what have you, then, you know, it's definitely one of those. It's definitely a niche game in that regard.
So I streamed this game on Monday for
Yeah.
maybe like an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. And over the course of that short little streaming session, uh, you could watch a man go from being like, man, I am so flustered and out of my element, to slowly, gradually, but surely kind of understanding his bearings and surroundings, albeit not to a super kind of masterful degree. This game,
Mm-hmm.
man, oh man, I really feel like this game needed a tutorial and not a like
Absolutely.
slideshow, which is what this game has in lieu of a tutorial.
Yeah.
Because yeah, this is definitely like I'm trying to remember which game it was. I think it was like the Persona 4 Arena games, and I'm assuming that the BlazBlue games do so as well because they're from the same developer. Those games are like some of the best examples that I've ever played of like a fighting video game where they kind of go meticulously through move by move what like everything, every kind of button combination the game does, and they explain test cases. All right, this is when you would use this kind of jump, this is when you would use that kind of heavy move, this is when you would use that kind of throw. And like I really feel like this game would have benefited so much from that, because there were so many times playing the game where I'm like, all right, I'm slowly but surely beginning to kind of grasp my head around, you know, how to do
Yeah.
this particular move, but I don't understand like what the particular advantage of it is. Took me a little while, but I eventually figured out how to do lobs, which is where you kind of throw the frisbee overhead.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wasn't able to kind of really kind of figure out the kind of tactical advantage of it, because it seemed like every single time I did a lob, it was incredibly easy for the opponent to kind of catch it. And the way that
Mm-hmm.
the kind of slideshow, you know, demonstrates the lob, it would seem as if, oh, like there are certain moments where you'll be able to kind of throw the lob and it will be like almost like a guaranteed, I think it's called a miss in the game, where the frisbee lands on the floor and they can't pick it up. But I've never felt like that opportunity really kind of arise. And that's an example where like I
Yeah.
really feel like the game would have benefited from telling me like, hey, this is the test case where you should use this move. All that being said, you know, the further that the stream went on, the more and more that I felt myself getting comfortable with this game's controls, the more and more I would say that I enjoyed it. I don't know that I love it. I think I would be a little bit hard pressed to go back to it unless it was like a live streaming scenario where we're like, let's check out some multiplayer games. Let's check out Windjammers 2. But I definitely think that there's something here. I definitely can
Mm-hmm.
understand kind of the appeal of it, why some people are so obsessed with it, why some people kind of lost their minds when this game was announced. But yeah, I just wish that there was a little bit more going on in this game in
Yeah,
terms of
that
easing people like me
absolutely.
into it.
Yeah, it's definitely on a budget, and for the budget that they had, I think they spent it very well on making the game good. But it definitely lacks in the onboarding part of the game, for sure.
This is you talk about them kind of spending their budget well. This is one of those cases where like I really would like want to be kind of a fly on the wall of understanding, like, you know, where all the manpowers in this game's development kind of went into, because this game announced at a Nintendo Direct in 2018, it's announced for release in 2019, gets delayed from 2019 to 2020, 2020 to
Yeah.
2021, and then ultimately releases in early 2022. We understand that in the middle of that, the pandemic obviously messes a lot of things up and drags things out quite a bit. like I am really kind of, I'm really just, and I'm not, this is not me trying to be insulting to .emu, the developer. Like I think that they made a quality product here, and I think they deserve all the credit for that. But I'm really kind of curious how a game that feels this sort of small in scope takes like as long as it did to kind of come out. Again, not from a insulting perspective, from just from like a purely, developmental perspective.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not coming across as being kind of,
I don't think you are. I think you're just genuinely curious as to like their process and what happened there. I kind of feel like, well, for me, it feels like it took a lot, like even longer for this game to come out because it's knowing about Windjammers in general for so many years and having a small vocal group of people constantly talk about the idea of a Windjammers 2 just for fun because that would be super cool if they did it, and then now it's here and it's like, okay, it's here for the people who wanted it and not to get anybody else into it necessarily, if that makes sense. So the people who were clamoring for it, who were either lapsed or continuing like Giant Bomb fans, it's here for them, and it's like one of those, like, it's probably pretty good for them, like when the online infrastructure and everything is working fine, it might actually be all right. But yeah, like, how did it take as long as it did? And like, why would that be okay for a tutorial to be sort of take the backseat?
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I think that makes sense. I realize in talking about this game, I didn't ask, did you play this game when it first released last month, or was the week that we designated to playing this game the first time that you tried it?
I played it with friends the week that it released. And so I had a more positive experience than I think most of you guys had after I tricked you guys into playing it. So, like, even Nathan, the fighting guy fan, didn't seem too hot on it. So,
I mean, again, I didn't dislike it. I don't see myself kind of going back to it, but I do think that there is something here. On Press YYZ, we've kind of gotten into the habit of giving games like 5-star reviews. This game's like, I would say about like a 3-ish star thing, and I would
say 3.
It's very similar to, I would say, Nobody Saves the World, purely from the perspective of, I think that if you're a fan of this genre, of this specific style of game, I think that there's the potential for this to really kind of get its hooks in you. And I think even if you're not a fan of the genre, I think there's also that potential too, but it's not as guaranteed.
Absolutely. I think 3 is kind of like spot on with it. Purely on the quality of like the core gameplay and what's there. If it's one of those, if and if you're into it, you're into it. Like, you only have to watch like a few like streamers like play it to kind of understand what's going on screen, and then you can pick up the controller, take a quick glance at that slideshow tutorial just to learn the buttons, and then just try and wing it from there, because like there's quarter circles and stuff that affect the angle of your throw and everything. So trying to master that, like, you could pick up over time if you're having fun with it. But yeah, if it had a better tutorial and everything, and a better onboard for new beginners and new players and stuff, I could see it getting a 4, but I think 3 is fine.
I will say, it took me a few tries. I did manage to complete the arcade mode in the game on easy. So even if you're like a complete kind of novice to the genre, it's not so unapproachable that it's like utterly inscrutable. I will say though, in doing my research on this game ahead of time, I was not aware of the fact that the original Windjammers apparently only had like a 2-ish button layout,
Mm-hmm.
which in a weird way actually kind of makes me more motivated to check that game out than I am to like replay this game.
Yeah.
Because 2 buttons, that almost feels like Nidhogg-esque in terms of just being kind of really kind of simple and down to earth in terms of what you're kind of going for.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder if like I'm kind of spitballing a little bit here, but I almost wonder if like the need to have like 4 buttons that do 4 different things in this game is maybe overcomplicating things a little bit. I'm not
It
like a
could be.
big like fighting game theorist kind of person, so I may be totally just speaking assy ass stuff right now, but
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting point.
All right, well, that was our YYZ reviewing of Windjammers 2. We both thought, amidst its faults, that it's a pretty good time. So go check that game out if it's of any interest to you. As we stated at the top of the show, our next YYZ reviewing game is going to be the single player campaign for Crossfire X. So definitely go and give that a shot. Unlike Windjammers 2, that game will be reviewed in 2 weeks from now. So you have a little bit more time to go check it out, savor it, roll it around in your tongue, do whatever it is that you want to do with it that you would rather us not know about. And with that, we want to thank you for tuning in to Press YYZ. If you enjoyed this broadcast, be sure to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Twitter at PressYZ and slide into our Discord at invite.gg/PressYZ to keep the conversation going. AJ.
Yeah.
Oops. Just as I said AJ, I showed your Twitter handle and it said at Mr. Mitch George because
That's
it
not
was
me.
formatted that way because Mitch was with us previously. My bad.
That's
AJ,
okay. Yeah.
It has been an honor to podcast with you over the course of these some odd 100 episodes.
And likewise with you. I just want to say thank you so much for putting all of the effort that you have into this thing, because like even in our private Discord conversations, like the amount of effort that you put in and does not necessarily get acknowledged as much as it should. You put a lot of effort into this. This was your idea. This was your baby. And I'm glad to still be here for the ride. I still enjoy being able to do this every week, so long as I'm feeling well and able. And yeah, thank you for putting out that call 100 episodes ago for asking to start a podcast.
Well, thank you. Yeah. don't have like a big grand speech to thank you for thanking me, other than thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And until next time, thank you for playing.